Really so excited for today's inspiration. I'm very excited. I'm so excited. Rescripting trigger events. We talk about trigger events every single inspiration. So it is wonderfully ready time for us to create the subject and the topic all about this topic, and for us to create a new way of speaking to it. Angel sounds powerful, and I'm expecting it will be, because we all can relate to this. We can all relate to having a trigger event. Actually, today I had one, and it was really interesting because when you become aware of it as an opportunity for growth and expansion, and when you look at it as an opportunity when the person in front of you is mirroring a reaction, and that you both get to grow from it, and instead of the person being an instigator, but somebody that you get to look and say, interesting, why are we playing together in this way? It really leads to a lot of really insight, awareness, growth, expansion, which is the name of the game. So I thought it might be interesting, because sometimes we just assume that we all know what something is, but I like to break it down. So just as you guys know that I always talk about the deconstructed key lime pie, let's break what a trigger event is. Teresa, second time here, so excited to be able to empower myself and learn. Fantastic, Teresa. I'm excited for you and for all of us, because I know that today will be really insightful. And on Tuesday, we did not have the opportunity to go into the meditation. We were going to at 30 minutes, and then the conversation started going for another hour and a half, and we didn't go into meditation. So today, I would really like for us to go into meditation, and I see a lot of faces that were on Tuesday, so I'm hoping that you feel the same way. Hi from Mexico. A question: how if there was not one event, but a whole childhood, 15 years of abuse? Gee, you got it. Does it require a different approach? No, it's actually what I asked in the questions was, do you recognize your trigger event, and do you recognize the patterns? Because my teachings, my philosophy, my understanding of life is that we are conditioned as babies, as children, as little wee ones, as sponges, taking up what's going on around us. And what's going on around us is from people that love us and care for us and raising us, although they didn't always show it. So maybe they don't always love us, but that's another conversation. But anyway, we're sponges. And then as we start to grow, things happen that are as a result of that conditioning. That's what we call conditioning. And to truly break a pattern, we go way back, G, to figure out where that came from. And it may have came in the womb, maybe come in your baby years, it may have come in your childhood, like you said, for your 15 years of abuse. It may have actually come generationally, and you might actually recognize there are some stories that I see, reoccurring stories in my family lineage. I see it in me, and then I can see it in my dad, and then I can see it in his mother, and I see it, and also I can see lineage stories on my mom's side, and my nieces, so the ability to actually look back and see where it's rooted from is where the biggest growth and expansion occurs, and where you can fully let it go. So G, tell me if that helps. And during the meditation, I'm going to guide you all in going back, finding out where it came from. Could even be, if you believe in past lives, it could even be in past lives. And we're all here to learn, and we can only break the patterns when we become aware. It's 5 steps. Become aware, acknowledge the deeper meaning, appreciate, and we'll go through it all. I'm going through it quickly now. Appreciate, then let go and surrender. So G, your question is powerful. It hits it from the beginning, and the answer is yes. It's the same approach, and actually the approach is the recognition of it coming from where it came from. And it wasn't just that, it's an incident that's happening now. It's a conditioning, and it's the conditioning that's a natural part of the human evolution. It's normal. So one of the first things I like in all of the work/play we do together is have zero judgment on the past. zero judgment on what's going on, and to recognize that it's all happening for a specific reason, and it's all okay. And it takes work to shift it. So we're going to start talking about everything intellectually. So when we talk about things intellectually, we're going to start to set the basis for what we're talking about, but the shift can only occur emotionally. But I will guide us all through the intellectual understanding, the egoic beliefs, and the emotional shift so our physical reality can change. Gee, tell me, that's a fantastic question right from the get-go, and it sort of gets us into that momentum that we see that this is going to be powerful. Karina and Ara, I had a trigger yesterday. I really looked at why the person did what they did, their reasons. Understanding them is helping me process why it triggered me. First time here, looking forward to today's live with you. Fantastic, fantastic. And today's incident allowed me to recognize that we want to understand why they did what they did. And we also want to understand why we reacted and interpreted it the way that we did. Because different people can see different things in different ways. For example, I went out for brunch the other day with one of my girlfriends, and some lady was holding the door. It did not appear to me to be holding the door for us, but holding the door. And it looked like one of her friends was inside, and she held it. I tried to look at her for eye contact, and me and my girlfriend were talking, and she didn't really acknowledge. And then we went through the door, and then she looked at us and said, "You're welcome," in a really sassy way. "You're welcome." And it upset me because I'm like, oh, I was trying to acknowledge you, and it looked like you were absent, and we were in the middle of conversation, and I acknowledged within me, and I actually had thought I had said, yeah, thank you, but maybe I actually didn't. But my girlfriend didn't even react. She just laughed at it and sort of dismissed her sarcasm as not a big deal. But for me, it upset me because I like to be kind to people. So different people will respond to the same event in different ways. So the question to you, Karina, is why? Also to understand where that came, why it bothered you from your conditioning. Because if you guys know my red shirt analogy, if you all look at me and say to me, Manal, this red looks awful on you and makes you look pink, I'd look at you and say, well, this is black, it's not red, and not even gonna, I might have different thoughts, but if you say to me, black isn't becoming on you, first of all, black is becoming on most people, but forget that, I would react different than the red. So our reactions only occur when somebody says red and we believe that we're wearing red. So we will look to say, why did that happen that way? Why? Understand why they reacted, understand why you reacted. And the thing that I really liked right now is recognizing we're both right. Nobody is wrong. Obviously, if there's abuse and there's physical and there's like extreme boundaries going on, then there's things that have to be extremely changed. So when we're not safe, but in a normal day-to-day sort of connection with somebody that doesn't align, and again, I still want to define what trigger means, and I want us all to say what makes something a trigger and why do we call it a trigger, and then I want us to redefine what it is. And we have in previous inspiration, but since today's the topic, we're going to start over from the beginning. But I want to say, hey, why is this a trigger event? What is this a trigger event? And then break it down from there. So Karina and Nara, let me know if that helped you and that gave you insight. Because really what we want to know is we want to understand why they did it and give compassion for their conditioning, whether it's right or wrong, but we don't do it through judgment, through understanding, through compassion, through care. We might still put a boundary. We might still say this is unacceptable, but they are not bad and they are not wrong. They are different. And when we come to a point of me understanding you and you understanding me, and if the relationship is important enough for us to come to a common understanding, then that's where we go. So that's another thing that I'm working on in all of my relationships is we are both right. Nobody is wrong. We're both right. We're all right. Everybody's perspective is right. everybody's perspective is right. It's a matter of understanding and seeing if you can shift each other's lens on each other to be able to come to a common understanding, G says, thanks for the answer. We'll keep working on this. We will work on it together today, G, together. And in the meditation, and when we continue to talk, if you want to bring up things about this abuse, continue to bring it up when it wakens up the trigger in you. So today we'll acknowledge, we'll talk, we'll bring it out, we'll see the emotions, we'll see the responses, and we'll work on it together. It's a big one, and I honor you for being able to say it in this platform and to raise it, and we will take care and love you and hold you in a way that allows you to grow and expand from it in the most powerful way. Steve, what did the trigger for you? Holding the door? I'm just curious. Being ignored, validated, minimized, just asking. Oh, Steve is psychoanalyzing me. It's for me, the judgment on me being bad. So you know me, I'm a recovering perfectionist. So the way that it was, thank you, or you're welcome, it was like I wasn't good enough. I was bad. I didn't acknowledge them. I wasn't kind. And it's all of the things that, I really, like, I tried to look at her, or maybe I don't even know if I did or didn't say thank you, but I had acknowledged and I saw the dynamic. So it was me being bad, me being not a good girl, me being wrong, me not doing good, me not being perfect. Steve, did that give you the insight into me? And I recognized it because I was with a friend that me and her talk about this stuff, and I was like, well, why aren't you reacting? And she just kept laughing about it. And she's like, clearly, like, it's not about us. But I said, well, how come I'm feeling it and you're not? And we just sort of laughed it and talked it about. And then all breakfast, whenever one of us did something, the other person would go, you're welcome, in that same that same way. So it's yeah, got it. Same thing. Learned, embedded as a wee one. Yeah, but it's about recognizing and growing past it. It's about laughing at it. It's about me next time maybe pausing a bit and giving her something that she needed. And actually, we both responded when she said that. We both like startled and we said, oh, thank you so much. And both of us genuinely. And it was like, oh no, that was rude of me. And sort of went into it and tried to honor her for who she was. But what was interesting was the lingering emotions, because intellectually I knew this was not about me. Intellectually I know that I'm kind. Intellectually I know that my intentions are well. Intellectually I know that me and my girlfriend, we give. We are givers. We say hi to strangers. We love people, always gravitate in like that we don't know because of our energies towards people. And it's like, ooh, without even inadvertently, we meshed with something that didn't align. And I know it's not personal intellectually, but emotionally there was a reaction. And that's a gift. Any emotional reaction is a gift for me to calibrate, to understand, to recognize life is not personal and life is going to keep showing me in inexpensive ways. Because really, that was not inexpensive. That was not a big load off my back for me to say, oh, I can calibrate. Oh, look how my girlfriend just let it slide over and it didn't really impact. But she's the pleaser in a different way. I'm the perfectionist. So it didn't go on her red shirt. It didn't trigger her red shirt. So beautiful. Okay, Steve, I'm glad that you asked that question. Christine, I haven't seen you in a while. Yes, and this is where defensiveness comes from. Absolutely. I get triggered by sarcasm too and would have wanted to explain myself. Exactly. We didn't. We just said thank you. And sarcasm, I think the root of that in the Latin language is like a bunch of like angry dogs or something about rabid dogs or something violent about dogs. So sarcasm would be a great topic for us to talk about, because sarcasm is a coping mechanism that many of us use. And sarcasm for me, I like sarcasm as a form of comedy, but sarcasm is also used to be defensive, to hurt others when you feel hurt. And it is really important. After I became aware of what sarcasm's origination, and that it really is about hurting with with lipstick. It's almost like a pig in lipstick. You know that whole thing about a pig in lipstick? Sarcasm is a pig in lipstick. I'm not happy about something, so I'm going to be sarcastic about it, but pretend it's a joke, but you're going to get a message because you're going to feel my energy. And so sarcasm would be a fantastic topic. And when I recognized that sarcasm was a tool that was used to really be, to hurt and to prevent and to react as a defensiveness from reacting from being, that I recognize I don't want sarcasm in my aura, in my expression, self-expression anymore. And so I started to shift on it. So Christine, that's a really powerful observation and I like it. Yes, interesting that you say as well. Tracy, I hope I didn't miss it. I want to hear this. You are going to hear it all and we're going to repeat everything until everybody gets where they need to be. Karina and Nara, yes, it did. I realized his actions were projecting his weaknesses and his feelings. Insecurity. Fantastic. The root of most things are insecurity. And that I didn't have to take what he did personally. Fantastic. They're insecure. They're projecting on myself. I don't need to let it mirror me. I don't need to. But again, this is all intellectual. If we're feeling it emotional, we need to go to the root of it. The root of it. Where did it come from? And work it through outside of our body, outside of our physical body. The emotional imprints are in our physical body. And that's where pain comes in. That's where tension is. That's what the stress is on the physical level. And we got to go through it, work it out, and let it go. And let it go. Karina and Nara goes on. I realized each person has things they are working through. It really had nothing to do with me, but him. Beautiful, beautiful, fantastic. Now the question I'll ask you is, that's all intellectual, and that's beautiful, and that's perfect, and that's all right. I put that in quotes, right. But let me ask you, how did you feel? Because the work is done from feeling. So how did I feel with that door incident? I felt embarrassed. I felt shame. I felt like I did something wrong. I felt exposed. I could feel it in my jaw. Y'all know that I usually carry my tension in my jaw. I felt it in my chest and my body. So my body physically reacted to that incident. Physically reacted. And then I was able to associate it with the thoughts and where it came from. And that's sort of the way to deconstruct that key lime pie and to be able to understand where it's coming from. So what did you feel, Karina and Nara, and everybody that's relating to their trigger events? What are the type of events? What's going on? What's the pattern? And how do we feel? How do we feel? Sporty Jen, it's funny, Manal, this happened to me, but on the other side, when two people I held the door open for didn't acknowledge, and I muttered, "You're welcome," under my breath. They heard me and very quickly said, "Thank you." Maybe it was you, Sporty Jen. I was triggered, annoyed, and upset for being taken granted for. Beautiful, beautiful. And in that, we all are not giving the other people the benefit of the doubt. The benefit of the doubt. Me and my girlfriend, maybe we were talking about something really intense, which we could have been, because there is something heavy going on with another girlfriend in our life, and we were talking about that. So maybe we're talking about that. Maybe we're in our own little worlds because we came out of the car and we're filled with grief and sadness and fear, and maybe many things. And in that, if we could just all just sort of give each other, particularly people we don't know, when we're just like going through in the world and public and life and restaurants and stores, and just say, we don't know their story. We don't know what happened to them. We don't know what they're feeling. We don't know what they came from. We don't know. And if we knew some of their stories, we might actually really shift that to love. And both sides see it. So Sporty Jen, yeah, you're right. You have the door and somebody didn't say thank you. That doesn't feel good. It's like, hello, I'm here. I was being kind. And sometimes that return, that expectation. Actually, another girlfriend was over last night. It's sitting on the screen porch, sitting on here, actually. She was on this couch. I was on the other one facing it. And we were talking about family and expectations. And that she was letting go of expectations from her family, and that she wasn't receiving from her family what she needed. And she has a fantastic family, and she knows she has a fantastic family. And I said, well, maybe, yes, you have to let go of expectations, but maybe you also have to see that your family all speaks different languages, and that she really is very different than her, you know, her siblings and from her parents and from all of her different things. And maybe it's not let go of expectation in terms of they're not going to take care of me. My family is bad, put that in quotes, but your family is giving you in a way different than you value, and you're giving them in a different way that you value, because all of your love languages, your communication, your way of expressing is different. And instead of them all being bad and you being bad and whatever, just recognize, I like to call it different languages. You speak French, they speak Dutch, this one's Chinese, this one's English, this one's French. And just because you're speaking different languages doesn't mean that you're all singing the same song and saying the same words. And you just have to interpret it differently and have your expectations not that you won't receive in the way that you give. And she said, you know what, you're right. And then started listing all of these ways that they did take care of her. All of these ways. And maybe she negated it and maybe she didn't. So let's try to let go of expectations and try to give compassion and love to everybody we see and feel in life, and recognize that when we don't, to look within ourselves and see the judgment that we maybe hold on ourselves. Maybe. Okay, Lena, it's kind of triggering to hear that no one is wrong and that it's just our own subjective perspective. Okay, Lena, that's fantastic. I always felt I had to be right. I'm a recovering perfectionist. So tell me, what is it feeling like? What is it invalidating you? Let's get down to it. And I think that's really powerful observation. And it took me a long time too to get there. So sometimes I share things that's been a dourney for me to get to. And the point isn't for me to say things and for anybody to believe. It's for us to slowly, doesn't have to be slowly, but us to calibrate our way until we get into a growth mindset, into expansion, into seeing that the human journey is a fantastic one, and we're all here to grow and to learn, to stop seeing things as bad and as negative and suffering and struggling, and start to see as opportunities for me to grow and expand and to love and to be compassionate. All the things that they say, be present, try to be compassionate. What else do they say? Life isn't personal. Things aren't personal. I try to break it down into the fundamentals, and help us to deconstruct these beliefs, these conditioning, these feelings, until we truly can get to compassion. So Lena and Nejwa's feeling you, and I feel it too sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, but I'm right. So me and my son the other day were arguing about WWF. Do you guys remember WWF? I'm aging myself. World Wrestling Federation. Hulk Hogan. Somehow we were talking about wrestling. Nejwa says yes. We were talking about wrestling and we're talking about Hulk Hogan. And I said, oh, what does he? And I'm like, and we were both trying to remember the acronym. So I said WWF, and then he said WWE. I think he said E. It's E or C. Does anybody know? Anyway, turns out we were both right. In my day, in our day, in whatever day, in the 70s, it was WWF. And then they changed it to WWE, thank you, Beth, to WWE. And because there was WWF is the World Federation or World Wildlife Federation or something. And so there was a lawsuit and they were WWF, Hulk Hogan's, had to change to WWE. So him and I were both right. His was current right. Mine was right from the reference that I was making, Hulk Hogan in the olden days. So I was more right, Lena, wink to you. I was more right, but I didn't tell him that because I was talking about the 70s, not and the 80s and the 90s, whatever year it was, not 2022. But he's right because currently it's WWE, but we were both right. And so it was a lesson for him that day, because I'm the mama, that was like, can we both be right? And can we both hear each other in a place that we're both right? Even though one might be more right than the other, one might be really wrong, but if someone thinks something, they are technically right. Their thoughts might be wrong, but if they're thinking it, it is technically right. So for me, it was a really great way for both of us being right factually, but not saying the same thing, validating with fact. One is past, one is present, seeing why it happened, and saying, can we recognize that because of our generations, because of our experiences, that sometimes we might see things as truth differently, and how do we hear each other and come to that? Good? How's that? It's all just wrestling. Now you guys are all, yes. Nejwa saying my brother's idol, Hulk Hogan. In the day, he was a big thing. Stephanie, think WWF and WWE. I remember in my day, they were big, big things. And fantastic. So that's my story about us being right. Lena, talk to me about, and Nejwa and everybody, why are you triggered thinking that you're both being right is triggering? I would really love for us to collectively explore this. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Nejwa says, hello, Manal and everyone. Tracy, fear. I think I asked you what you're feeling, and it's fear. Yes, fear, anxiety, insecurity are a lot of the emotions that we feel when we feel triggered. And that's what I want to go to. What are the emotions that we feel? So, and I want to still define trigger. What is trigger, guys? What is a trigger event? Let's define that together. What is a trigger event? To me, one of the reasons I realized last inspiration, because ultimately I want to lead us to a place of changing trigger, because you all know, I've said it multiple times, trigger means gun. Trigger means attack. Trigger means you're a victim, not a victor. You're a reactor, not an actor, that you're at the receiving end, not the doing end. And it's a happening. It's not a storyline. It's not a movement. It's a single stop lock gap in this moment happening. So let's say we're not going to use the word trigger anymore because it's too finite. So what are we going to move to? What are we going to move to? Are we going to move to, okay, what is it? What is it? What is a trigger event? Let me give some of my offers and you guys join me. And I know I got to scroll back to some comments. But one, I think there's an emotional reaction. Two, there's an incident that's defined, like the door. I walk through the door. So there's a storyline, there's an incident. Trigger means I can't. Steve, very interesting. And you're right. There's an aspect of it like I'm done. I can't. I'm reacting. There's an overwhelming feeling of feeling invalidated, feeling victim, feeling reactive, feeling like the world is coming at us. The world is coming at me. Talk to me, guys. Talk to me. There's a big emotional, triggering resistance. Beautiful. That's the emotional reaction. There's a resistance. It could be anger, sadness, frustration, yelling, and activity. It actually could be me reacting a certain way. Ray, a trigger is what changes me into negativity. Fantastic. Yes, I was fantastic. I was flowing. I was wonderful. And then all of a sudden, something triggered me into remembering that something happened the other day and I was sad. You're right. It moves me. There's a movement. Steve, protecting myself to me is what it means. Beautiful. So Steve, you actually have conditioned it to be very specific to a response that you have, which will go into that deeper and deeper. It's supposed to be together. Protect myself together is what it means. Anyway, I got your point, but it's to protect yourself, that you have something in there. Maria, trigger is something that evokes an emotion. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Makes me feel like it'll never let something go. Beautiful. So we have a reaction. It's emotional. It could be physical, and it might be very specific, like Steve is sharing. It might be something more general, and I shift. And I also think, guys, a lot of times we project it onto family. That's Nejwa saying, triggered big time by family, scapegoating me. Beautiful. That a lot of times we use it when we feel we're projecting somebody's actions onto us. So a lot of time there's an event or a person in there. So it's a short timeline. Beautiful. So how about, instead of us seeing, and it's negative. So now, you guys know me. I don't like things as being negative. I like us to see that everything that happens in life is for our growth and our expansion. So gas to saying, and I think that's you, Gina, situation reminds me of a childhood situation that was not happy and scary. Beautiful. So we've got something that happens. The more frequently it occurs, we didn't talk about the reoccurrence, which I think Steve and Gast and a few of us are mentioning, that reoccurrence, I think, is also what makes us say trigger, because it's like going again, happening again, happening again. So there's a reoccurrence, there's a resistance, there's a story, and mostly we are feeling victim to it and reactive to it. So it's beautiful. But now in that's all finite, that's all negative, and that's all going from positive to negative. So now let's talk about how we can change our lens, our thinking, our perception of what a trigger event is. How about instead, so we could look at it longer, is that it's a experience. It's a journey. It's calibration. It's fine-tuning. It's tuning. It's the ability for me to grow and expand. It's situations for me to understand myself and life a bit more. Talk to me about how you all feel about these. How can we start to shift our way that we see trigger events as really experiential parts of our journey? It's a place where we get to learn how to understand our emotions in a big way, because it's guiding us to really seeing reoccurring stories and emotional stories within our body and change and move and grow with them. How does that all sound to you? Christine and Gaber Mate talks about how tiny the trigger is, but the ammunition is all inside of us. Exactly. And that's what I think one of the biggest things that I want us all to recognize is that the reason a trigger, it could be something small, like what we talked about, Sporty Jen and me, a door being held, not being acknowledged, and a significant reaction that outweighs the action. The reaction is compounded to the specific. I think that's something about a trigger event, why we call it trigger, is that we recognize that we reacted in a way that's not aligned with the event, because there's a lot of history to it. There's more than what's happening now. It's like, oh, I actually reacted like this because you did da 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 da, and that's the straw that broke my back. So that is a wonderful observation, and that means that I haven't been doing, I'm glad that's resonating with the hearts, I haven't been doing my work in cleaning up. That means that I haven't been seeing the signs of emotion or reactions that I actually have to start calibrating to. That means that I'm actually, you guys know my analogy about the house, that the garage is much more dirty and more difficult to clean and dusty and spider and cobwebs than the kitchen, because the kitchen is cleaned every day and the attic and the basement is every season, hopefully. Maybe twice a year. Anyway, that's a side story. So a trigger event is an indication of an emotional reaction that I'm either A, not aware of yet, or two, that I haven't cleaned up. Because I haven't been aware, that I haven't cleaned up. So they're actually the biggest gifts. When we start to recognize that, trigger events are the biggest gifts, because they are showing us in a small action, a big reaction, places within us that we get to clean up, to grow, to expand. It's a cheap way. It's a sale. It's an emotional sale, guys. The first time I thought of it this way, it's emotional sale. A small event results in a very clear physical and emotional reaction, which gives me the opportunity to clean up in a really good way. So they're fantastic. They're fantastic. Who wants to join me in saying that actually, from the lens of growth and expansion, there is a really big opportunity for me to grow when I look at them from a different lens. When I recognize this is a clue. This is a clue into my conditioning journey. This is a clue into me growing and expanding. It's actually pretty powerful, guys. Sporty Jen, layer and layers of trigger reactions, they seem to accumulate. Absolutely, because we're not cleaning up. Nejwa, love the way of seeing it. Me too, I've never seen it that way. Steve, helplessness, I don't even know the words. Vary this. Is there a feeling? I don't know. I'd better if I knew what it was. Yeah, let's get into the feeling. And if the feeling is numbing your feelings, that okay until we get past the numbness and get into the feeling. So Steve, you're waking up your body and you're waking up your self-expression and you're waking up your ability to speak. Teresa, feeling invisible. There we go. And that's actually resonates, if I can say it, and Steve, you say, it actually resonates with Steve's story. Is feeling invisible and having to hide. So it's beautiful. Tracy is saying change thoughts, opportunity. I think this was my answer to what can we say other than calibration. So I think this is really powerful, and I want us to start to go into our bodies. I'm going to see what I missed above. I see a bunch of things about, I think I missed stuff about above WWS. Okay, K, not really mussing on holding door open for people. It's all about holding space for others, literally. But remembering we are holding the space and that we are doing it to align with our inner truth of being compassionate towards others and in loving kindness. Helping ease their experience of life, doing the door holding for others and letting go of any expectations of what they will do or say. It's just as us holding space and needing nothing in return. Beautiful, Kay. And that's what I when I was sitting down and we were still talking about it with my girlfriend, I was like, well, we do kindness without a true kind act is done without expectations of an act back. And so, but I do like to act back, but there is something key that you're saying in there, Kay. Key there. Do you like that? Key in there, Kay. But fantastic. And I do believe that if we can let go of expectations, and we talked about that earlier, it's expectations. I just talked about the story with my girlfriend on the porch here last night about expectations that we get free. And I'm going to suggest that the expectations that we have on others are a reflection of the expectations that we have on ourselves. I reacted because I expect myself to hold myself to a high standard. I expect myself to see people. I expect to be seen. I expect to treat people with kindness. I expect to be treated with kindness. And I created an experience where somebody felt unseen and not and that the basic human kindness of not saying thank you for holding the door was not there. I mean, that's minimal. Someone holds a door for you and you look at them and you say thank you. It's minimal. It is minimal and it is human and it is kind. And so it's those expectations that we have on ourselves. So it is pretty powerful. And again, on a door, this is much better than us talking about it with our partner. It's really powerful if we can take it and grow from it rather than it have to be experiences with people that are valuable. Not that a stranger isn't valuable, but that's not intimately in our life, where it's easier to not take it personally. Isn't it so much easier to grow when we're more easily able to disconnect from the personal story versus the unpersonal? Because if that was my friend, if that was somebody that I'm intimate with, and they said to me, "You're welcome," there might have been, maybe I knew that they would be joking, so there could be that in there, but there might be a bigger reaction to say, "Hey, you know me. You know I have good intentions. That didn't feel good." And now, rather than me just feeling embarrassed and doing internally, then I outwardly express negativity, resistance, which then turns around and makes them triggered and react, and then all of a sudden we have a snowball of reactions. So it actually, these events with strangers out there in public are a really great way for us to start to go inside and grow. Steve, when you say calibrate, does that mean do away with, neutralize, or like equalize them? I'm trying to understand the process concept. To me, calibrate means when we have a musical instrument, we tune it. There's the metronome, and doesn't the metronome, again with piano or whatever musical instrument, is here to calibrate our timing? So or somehow I feel with the knob we're calibrating something. To me, what I mean with calibrate is like tuning myself to compassion, tuning myself to acceptance, tuning myself to not taking something personally, tuning myself to love, tuning myself to a higher level. And I see us in our body, I see that every expression is vibration. You guys know that I like talking about it, vibration, 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 vibration. So that means within us there is vibration. And that's why I go to a musical instrument, I think. And so when there's a reaction of shame, I want to calibrate that to ring, oh, that wasn't personal. And how do I calibrate and move back to compassion? How do I tune it to another song? Maybe change a station. You're listening to station, and that station I'm listening to is rock and roll, and I actually want to go to classic. So you're changing, you're calibrating. So calibrate is more, I think, of a technical, scientific term when I'm dealing with music maybe, or in a science lab, but sort of tuning. Steve, does that answer? Does that answer? And I really like that word, and if we need to use another, now I say calibrate, sometimes I say tuning, sometimes I say attuning. I think that's the word that you gave me. Changing. I really like to use the word calibrate some reason. So tell me how that is, Steve. Sporty Jen goes back to childhood, trying to get my parents' attention and being ignored, belittled, shamed, embarrassed. Fantastic, Sporty Jen. Fantastic. So now what are we going to do with this? You guys know it's the 5 steps. 1 is awareness. Sporty Jen is aware, and so was I. We both had the same event on both sides, and we're both good people, so there's no judgment. So easy for us to recognize. I love that Sporty Jen has the mirror of it, where she was the one that said, "You're welcome." I gotta stop saying it that way. But anyway, so we have the awareness. Sporty Jen and I both having the same reaction, being ashamed, belittled, ignored, and embarrassed. My reaction was, again, being ashamed, not being perfect, not being good enough, called out on having to do better. So it's a slightly different, but we both have the shame. So an awareness. Acknowledgement. Step 2 is acknowledgement. Acknowledgement of a desire for being worthy. So at the end of the day, with shame, ignored, embarrassed, belittled, ashamed, not perfect, all of that is calibrating, okay, Steve, calibrating to worthiness. I felt unworthy in that moment. I felt unworthy. And it sounds like Sporty Jen too. We both felt unworthy. So now we want to calibrate to recognize, oh, that event made me feel bad. All the words that we said, resistance. Resistance is a gift, and I acknowledge that I want to feel worthy. So we want to calibrate to worthiness. So step 3, it's intellectual, but we see how much we can shift through our intellectual, see if we can shift our emotional. So we recognize and we go to our egoic level, our level where we carry our beliefs and say, oh, I recognize that my worthiness was just exposed, and I recognize I'm worthy, and I recognize that it came from me being a child, how my parents treated me. And for me too, obviously the conditioning came back from always wanting to perfect, always wanting to please, always wanting to be the best. I had 2 older brothers, and I wanted to shine, and I wanted to be, and I was competitive, and all of that drive. So, and that desire. So, oh, I recognize, and then you just sort of, oh, I see, this is the human journey, and she didn't mean badly. And Sporty Jen, when Manal speaks about it as her being clueless and in her world, and Manal, when Sporty Jen speaks about it from her perspective, I'm like, oh my God, I did not see that girl. And then we start shifting authentically to compassion. We authentically go through, and if we have to go through our body, like we're going to in our meditation, which we'll go into our body soon, when we go to our body and you feel, we feel the resistance. We think of the story. We enter our body. Let's do it right now really quickly, because we've been going for a while and everybody's been feeling emotional, though the energy of the room feels really good. So let's do it quickly, okay? This isn't a meditation, but we're going to do it. Tracy, this helps to hear what you say to yourself. Fantastic. Okay, so let's all do it. So right now, all of us have, the topic is trigger events, which we're going to call calibrators, tuners, events, life experiences, but whatever. We're still going to use triggers because there is a word until we recondition ourselves to a new word. But everybody invite something that you felt connected with today and that resonated with you. So go into your bodies. And if you go in, there's a few ways that you can enter your body. You can enter your body if you're aware of the physical sensation. So I can feel my jaw. I can feel it in my jaw. In my jaw. During these live streams, you all know, I've said it a million times, my jaw, the tension, the desire to be perfect, okay, my reoccurring need to be perfect and everything to go well, and is the external conditions okay, and the internal conditions okay, is my volume okay, am I speaking too fast, am I reading, did I miss anything? So all of this is in my jaw. I feel it in my jaw. So you can enter through your body. If you feel tension, you feel stress, you feel it in your shoulders, you feel it in your neck, you feel it anywhere in your body. If it's a judgment that you have of your whole body, fantastic. So you can enter through your physical body, just being aware of the physical sensations and just savoring the tension in your jaw or in your chest, just savoring. The other way you could do it is going into the emotion. So when Sporty Jen talked about all those emotions, the shame and the belittling, go into and awaken up those emotions without overindulging, but just going in there and seeing the emotion from a place of curiosity. Just like you're looking at your physicality, just sort of seeing, oh, there you are, shame. I can see you and I smell you and I feel you. I'm actually tasting you in a way that I never have, because in the past I'd hold you as a place of negativity, but now I recognize that you're a gift to help me learn and grow and see and be. So I actually love you and I see you and I want to learn from you and I want to grow from you. The other way that you can enter your body and your emotions is through the story. So Sporty and I, Jen and I shared the story about the door, and in that awakened the feeling that I had on Sunday. So just sharing that story woke up some of the feelings. So go in from your mind, go in from some of the abuse stories that we're going through. G talked about her story of violence. So go in through that story slowly, without overindulging, without you being the victim of it, you being a third person observer of your physical body, your emotional body, your mental body, just going in there. Just going in there. And then now that you're in there, and again, you're going to see it as positive. This is the growth and expansion journey. This is the journey that we signed up for. This is the journey for us to grow and expand and to become bigger. This is the story of self-awareness, emotional intelligence. This is how we grow. This is why we're on Insight Timer. So we can relate with others and connect with others and be with others and love others and grow. These emotions, I used to turn them off and not see them and not feel them. And now I recognize, oh wow, they're a tool. They're my calibration tool. They're my alignment tool. They're my retuning tool. They're my attunement tool. They're my tuning tool. They are amazing. Emotions need to be used as a GPS system. Don't go this way, go this way, don't go this way. And I'm going to start to feel my emotions in a different way. And now if you're really authentically shifting to see how the gift of the emotion, the gift of the feeling, then you can start to actually physically let go of the resistance. Sometimes I like to wipe it off. Sometimes I just shake it off. Sometimes I take a deep breath in of light and just breathe out all of the resistance that I connected with. Just breathe out all of things. I take another deep breath in, everybody. And just release all the resistance, all of the stories, all of the emotions, all of the feelings, all of it. Just release, 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 release. And let's do one last one. Take a deep breath in. A beautiful light, universal light. Love and healing and caring and loving, and let go of all the resistance that we connected with. Fantastic. And that's how we do it. That's how we do it. And G is saying, I've worked lots on the story of violence, but still feel a blind spot. Why I deeply want to be the best. I am controlling, but not competitive. I know it's part of inherited values, but still. How does it relate to the wish to be safe and protected? G, what I have found in a lot of work that a lot of us have done is a lot of it's intellectual And the work that I really offer is what we just did, is going into the emotions. Truly looking at the emotions and then going on a joyride. And that's what we're going to do very quickly, because what we're going to do in the meditation is actually go back to as young as you can remember. And the story of who you are did not start in a day. It was a lifetime for you to get where you are now. And we're here as humans to grow and expand. So there's going to be a journey for us to get and grow and grow and grow. Some of the events that happened to me, the energetic events, the emotional events, are coming from things that occurred a long time ago. Things that my parents might even not have thought was significant. Things that other people, even I was talking to another mom the other day, and she said, you know, sometimes children, as the lens of being a mom, sometimes children hold on to things that we did that we didn't even think anything of it, but it actually impacted them in a significant way despite our intention. And so we'll go back and we'll keep doing it and doing it and doing it until you get to safe and protected. Safe and protected. Safe and secure. Safe and secure, grounded, stable, connected, aligned, trusting. We'll get there, G. And that's the meaning of life. We're all here to be calibrated. I'm going to keep working the word calibrated till we all accept it and love it. We're all here to find full calibration with our unconditional worthiness, our unconditional freedom, and our unconditional happiness. And I see the hearts going on, and I really appreciate that. And safe and protected is freedom. Freedom. You talked about control. Control is freedom. Control is freedom. The best is worthiness. The story of violence could sometimes be about being worthy. It could also be being loved, being loved. And that's okay, G. That's your story. You have had very tough initial conditioning when you were still a sponge of taking in your life conditioning and fully dependent, because there's big things for you to accomplish in this life. Really big things. Really big things. And we'll work together in this safe place. There's a lot of people in today's window that have been here in so many inspirations, and we start to get to understand, to know our stories and get clues. Each inspiration gives us clues to understanding ourselves better. Heck, last time on Tuesday, I can't even remember the topic. Whenever I try to go and think about things, sometimes somebody tell me what the topic was on Tuesday really helped me. Talking about mothers and daughters and forgiveness and moving past the past. And it was a really powerful one for me. After we got off, I was really enjoying a lot of the topics and a lot that was shared, because it helped me grow as a person. So we're going to keep growing together. And the way that we grow best is by being truthful, being honorable, not looking at our past as a place of shame. Oprah is one of my favorites because she's the one that taught me to not look at our past as shame, and to be able to come out and speak to our past in a place of strength and confidence and growth and expansion. And she said things on TV, and dating myself again, in the 80s and the 90s that nobody had talked about at that time. I see the hearts going on. This is resonating. Nobody had talked about the things that Oprah talked about in the 80s and 90s. Nobody had talked about it. And she was brave enough to break it down and say, I'm not going to be ashamed of my past, and I am going to share what I am going through. She was a giant, and she talked about her struggles so freely in a way that was empowering. And she made me realize I am not going to hide behind my past and my shame and my stories. They're going to liberate me. Good? How was that, G? How was that? Because that was all for you. Okay, also, is your compass aligned and calibrated? Sometimes actual compasses lose their way, direction, and need to be recalibrated to return to pointing to true north. Fascinating. Okay, absolutely. Absolutely. And how do we know if we are aligned? How do we know if we're aligned? If our compass is aligned? How do we know? We feel good. One of my favorite things, the recordings that I made, is the How to Be Happy manifesto, the How to Be Happy. I think I called it a few different things because I realized that manifesto actually has a bit of a violent part to it. Manifesto, when I looked it up, I'm like, ooh, I don't know why I called it manifesto, because there was 10 steps and it was very, very powerful for me. But it talks about, but how do we know if our compass is aligned? Is because we feel good. We feel good. And today we're talking about trigger events. We were feeling good and then something happened, and it could be really minor, and then all of a sudden we don't feel good. So why is that? It's because we're here to grow and learn. It's because that there's a bigger part to life than what we see, and that's the vibrational conditioning part of it. And that vibrational conditioning part of it isn't bad. It's not bad. It's the human journey. It's the design. It's the architecture. It's how life was designed by the greater. And there's a bigger meaning. And the more that we can honor this bigger meaning and honor the unfolding and honor our past and believe and trust in our future and be present, the more that we know that our compass is aligned. Kay, tell me how that feels. Stephanie, I get anxious at the thought of screwing my kids up. Yeah, the best way that I dealt with my kids is really going back to trust and intention and surrender. They're so impressionable. They are so impressionable, and they're on their journey. And I also had to pull my ego out and say, and not allow what's happening in their life to be a judgment of me for myself as a parent, and just try to trust myself and trust them and trust their journey and trust my journey, and to keep giving unconditional love. And this weekend I read a lot of things, and I recognized that our kids, the biggest thing that our kids do is make us feel unworthy. So when they're disrespectful, it's making me feel unworthy. When they're disconnected, making me feel unworthy. When they don't do well, it makes me feel unworthy. They're our biggest unworthiness teacher. Sometimes they're our freedom teacher. Sometimes they're our unhappy teacher, but they're our biggest teacher. And so what can I do? I can always look at them and learn and say, wow, you're teaching me to be worthy. That I do not look at how you are and make that a projection of how I am. And that I honor the journey that they are. They are they, I am at me. My intention is to love, to care, to grow, to give, to be, to honor, to accept, to support, to love. But their journey is their journey, and my journey is my journey. And we're very connected and very intersected, but it's through love and compassion and not entangled. We're intersected, we're paralleled, we're connected, but we're not one. We're different entities. We're family. So Stephanie, how does that feel? Oof, my kids said they didn't trust me the other day, caught me off guard due to broken promises. I'm the only adult, so I play all the roles in my home. Beautiful, beautiful, Stephanie. So there's some conditioning that they're giving you. So you can do two things. You can agree that you're bad, you're not good enough, that you're not trustable, you don't have integrity, or you can take that to calibrate and see how you felt. How did that make you feel? Recognize that you're the adult of you. Align with your inner power. Get aligned with your integrity. Aligned with your intentions. Aligned with the truth of who you are. And then move from there. And you tell me how that feels, Stephanie, and how that feels. The kids are our biggest teachers. Our partners are, I felt awful and unworthy. Beautiful, beautiful. And now we're here as humans playing a game, playing a virtual game, a physical game, a real game, the architect of life, whatever you want to call it, the human journey, celebrating our humanness, We are here to learn how to feel unconditionally worthy and free in love. That's what we're here for. So Stephanie, your kids were wonderful actors in you getting there. They were wonderful. And the more we don't learn from these events, the more they'll keep occurring in different ways until we learn to surrender. That's what I'm beginning to learn. That's why it's called trigger events. It's gonna keep happening and happening and happening until I learn this lesson. It's gonna keep happening. So let's stop Find our way of recognizing, becoming aware, acknowledging, appreciating, and letting go of these moments and expanding beyond so we can keep growing and growing and growing. And it's not going to stop. We're not going to stop growing. So life is not going to stop happening around us while we do our play, because we're still growing and expanding into unconditional beings. There's still growth, unlimited growth and expansion. So we got to look at it as a lens of fun, excitement, play, pleasure, growth, expansion. Keep putting that bar up. See, keep where can I grow to? What can I do more? How can I expand? That's the secret. Stephanie, thank you for this conversation. I often feel alone on this journey. Beautiful, Stephanie, beautiful. Guess what? That alone one, we've talked about being alone in the past, and I actually set up for, I think the week after next, of feeling disconnected, because alone and disconnected are actually synonyms, but feeling disconnected from life and others. And it's a normal human feeling. Caitlyn Jenner, I just watched her biography on Netflix the other day. My girlfriend of mine said, Manal, watch it. It's really good. It's really fascinating, really interesting. But the theme was feeling disconnected, not being connected to the world. Despite being an Olympian, when she was Bruce, feeling disconnected, despite all of the people. She had 90 people. Because I think she refers to herself when she was Bruce Jenner, he had 90 friends and families come and celebrate him in the Olympics. 90. But despite that, the story is feeling disconnected until she reconnected with herself as Caitlyn. It was a beautiful story. But that disconnection, Stephanie, is part of the normal human journey. And so let's get it out there and hey, I feel alone. Oh, so do I. Oh, so do I. Oh, I felt alone in this occasion. Oh, I recognize that this made me feel this way because I feel alone. And let's celebrate it and let's talk about it and let's feel it and let's acknowledge it and say, oh, alone? That's another one towards feeling worthy, maybe. Feeling alone is feeling disconnected and not feeling worthy, not feeling part of the connection with the universe, feeling my purpose, and I am my purpose. Purpose is on, what days are we doing purpose? October 13th. How do I live my life from purpose? So Stephanie, thank you. And let's keep talking about it and recognizing the feelings, not the thoughts, not the stories, not the incidents, but the feelings. Good, Stephanie, good? Okay, yes, Manal. And there is an ease on the path when internal compass is aligned with greatest good in stepping into peace. But it's a practice. Got to pay attention to each step, that each one's in alignment, then our future is set up on that path, which makes each future step easier to keep aligning in right direction. Okay, that's beautiful. Absolutely. It's about becoming present, living life from a place of presence, acceptance, surrender. Put in the window, guys. What are the words? What is it that we want to live from? Teresa, I feel connected with this type of community. Connection, but not in the everyday world. Teresa, we've talked about this in previous inspirations. Once you start to feel it more and more and more, you'll start to create your community of people that you feel connected to in the everyday world. So we'll get there together. We'll create it together and here and continue to be here for each other and the inspirations, my meditations, my group Attaining, our group Attaining Your Authentic Life. And just having that there 24/7, then you'll start to see it. You'll start to see it everywhere in your world. You start to feel a friend that connects on that spiritual level, that understands you, that you understand. Then you'll start to see, oh my God, this neighbor, I didn't realize this neighbor was so connected to me. I live in a very small neighborhood. There's, I think, 18 homes, sometimes 19. Sometimes I called it 17, 18, 19. And then every time I look, I memorize it and then I still forget. I think it's 19 homes. The number of people in my neighborhood that have learned and done Reiki is incredible. 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 I think there's 7 of us. My next door, the 2 of them, the husband and the wife, me, another friend, another neighbor. There's like all these neighbors that are like, have learned, not done, like been a recipient of Reiki, but are Reiki students or teachers or masters. And have taken Reiki at some level to give Reiki. Fascinating. So my other neighborhoods, I can tell you, I moved in and I didn't feel connected. I felt different. I felt like my skin color separated me from the neighborhoods that I had lived in before. This is the first neighborhood that I moved in, and I feel so connected. But I had to first be connected with myself to be able to get that in the outside world. So we're working together, playing together to get that connection. Teresa, good, good, good. Mary Alice was doing one of the synonyms, connected to source. Connected to source. Beautiful, beautiful. Teresa, I want to learn Reiki. I love Reiki. I absolutely love Reiki. Sporty Jen, I want to feel honest, true to myself, visible, open to trust. Beautiful. And Sporty Jen, let's talk about that visible. Who do you want to feel visible to? To yourself or to others? Because that seems to me an external one. So I'm going to ask you to dig a bit deeper in there with external. And then I'm also going to ask you guys, it's 1:05. I want us to do a meditation. I want to ask, I missed some comments up above. Was there any comment that anybody said that you want me to refer to or speak to? Because I know that I jumped around in a bit and I think I missed some. So if I missed any of your comments that you put up above, please put it back in the window if you feel like I haven't spoken to or if you want me to speak to it. So please, 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 please put it back in the window. Sporty Jen, talk to me about that visible. I want to be visible because that's external, not internal. And I want everything that we feel to be internal. And are you not visible to yourself? Are you not visible to yourself? And everybody that feels that same desire, ask yourself that. Is visible resonating with you? And is it visible with yourself or visible with others? And if it's others, how do you turn around and fill yourself from within and not wait for others to fill you, but you fill yourself from within? We fill ourselves. We fill ourselves. This is the thesis of life. We fill ourselves. And when we fill ourselves, life starts to fill us. It's not the other way. It's we fill first and then life amplifies what we're already filled with. And if you start to think in your life of when things came and how you felt before it, you'll feel that you were full before you received it. You were surrendered, you were accepted, you found that peace, and then life brought it to you. And that's the whole story. If you want to know the story of manifestation, you got to feel it before you receive it. But the whole story of living and celebrating your happiness and your life and who you are, you need to be in alignment, full, and then life brings it. How is that? Najwa, Manal, can you leave us with a few things to take away on this in a few keywords? Najwa, life is amazing. Everything that we experience is here for us to grow and learn. Every time we feel it strongly in any form of resistance, physically or emotionally or mentally, it's an opportunity for us to see this as an opportunity to grow and learn and expand. It typically is an incident that is challenging my sense of worthiness, my sense of freedom, and my sense of happiness. And instead of using it as looking at it as something bad, we're going to start to go within 5 steps, make it easy, the 5 steps to break it down, become aware, acknowledge the deeper desire, appreciate life and the journey and everything I have, and then let go of that energy and surrender. And we're going to keep going through that cycle until I can consistently calibrate to worthiness, to freedom, and to happiness. Najwa, did I do it? How is that? I see the hearts going on. That is the thesis. That is the thesis. Sporty Jen, I think it's both. I want to feel visible to all parts of myself, and then I could open myself up to be visible and accepted unconditionally, I think, to others. Beautiful. Then Sporty Jen, then honor yourself. Start to recognize, do you not honor yourself? If you're not visible to yourself, do you not honor yourself? Do you not love yourself? Do you not care for yourself? I'm extrapolating. So help me converge on what that is for you, what it is. Being invisible kind of protected me from extreme violence. Gee, we've talked about this on Beautiful, 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 that it is a coping mechanism and it does protect you. And that wasn't bad that you used that back then. It wasn't bad. That was how you kept yourself safe back then, G. But it's not what you need now. Now. And what we're going to do is start to say, oh, that was a coping mechanism. I'm aware that I hide, that I protect myself, that I became invisible. And then we recognize, oh, I am me. I am free. I am love. I am worthy. I am happiness. I am peace. I am joy. I am going to radiate my truth, the beauty of who I am. And I recognize that my conditioning was here to calibrate me or to teach me how to find it inside of me rather than outside of me. And I see that coping mechanism and I honor that. But now I'm calibrating to all these truths and I love this human journey and I recognize there's a reason for it. Don't always understand it, but this is the design. This is the design. This is coming from a greater design that I'm not always fully conscious and aware of, but this happened when I had no control. But now I have control to feel, to think, to behave, to be, and I am going to choose to calibrate. To calibrate. And to find my freedom, my worthiness. G goes on to say, I discovered my unsatisfied wish to see myself on the eyes of a caregiver. I've learned to differentiate the trauma from current reality, though I'm still hooked to an extent to these then valid coping mechanisms. Okay, G, beautiful. It's a big conditioning, vibrational element within you. So what we want to do is not do that from the size and that you're stuck with it, but to honor the journey of calibrating back to your truth. To honor the journey that you're going through to continue to recognize that you are worthy and you're wonderful. And the way you do it is by what you're doing right now. You keep talking about it and you speak to it. And then we feel it, and work it and re-feel it and come in from worthiness and come in from freedom and come in from control and come in from triggers. Honor it and calibrate to your truth. Beautiful, G. Beautiful. That's resonated with you. Beautiful. So what we're going to do is honor your story. We have so much resistance to our stories. That bad. Our caregivers were bad. And I'm not saying it isn't bad because no child should ever experience anything other than unconditional love. But that's not the design of the human experience. So we're talking about it on a spiritual level, on a freedom level, on a level of ultimately getting back to the truth of who we are. The level of we're all here on Insight Timer and we're all here to grow and we all want to be here to expand and we all want to learn more. That's the level I'm speaking from. So on that level, we're going to say, I'm going to honor the journey. I'm going to honor that the people that did it know not what they do. Although there might be times that there's non-judgmental justice, that there should be justice, non-judgmental justice. But I'm not going to allow it to trap me. And I recognize my pattern of invisibility. And I'm no longer going to be invisible. I am visible. My light is going to shine. I'm going to align with my inner power. And I'm going to radiate the truth and the beauty of who I am. I'm going to radiate the truth and beauty of who I am. G, is that good? Is that good? Glenn, so we lean into the awareness and learn description the story and try something new. My experience has been to go gently with this to build a comfortable momentum, especially with bigger triggers. Yes, Glenn. I always say do not overindulge in the story or the feeling or the anything. Do not overindulge. It's almost you do it from a place of bliss, of awareness, of exploration, of curiosity. Glenn goes on, it's not bad or good, but a recognition of whether this is a healthy or an unhealthy for me. Beautiful. Recognition of how I feel, recognition of the physicality, recognition of the emotions, recognition of the stories. Sometimes we talk about our mind being the first thing that goes spinning, but it's actually our body reacting, and our mind, and we think it's our mind, but it's body. But sort of looking at my mind, my body, my emotions, how I'm physically feeling. Is this reoccurring? Do I feel small? Do I feel big? Do I feel ashamed? Was this analytically worthy of the reaction? Oh, I'm curious. No judgment, just pure exploration. Pure exploration. Non-judgmental. This is not personal. This is my conditioning playing out in certain ways, and this is what's leading to my growth and expansion. It's the human journey. It's the architecture. It's the architecture. How can I say, I know abuse at any level, at any age is bad, but then I ask myself, well, then why did it happen, Manal? There's a bigger reason, there's a storyline, and that's when you come into the spiritual. And so then you break it down through that awareness. And awareness is becoming present, Glenn. Because the other thing that I know, we didn't talk about time, is what's happening now is only now. So part of our journey is letting go of past and being present, because a lot of times when the things that we're talking about during these inspirations that we're letting go of is things that happened in the past, but we only have now. We only have now. So it's our bodies that are holding on to the past. If we haven't done the work, if we reacted to something and didn't let it go, if we hid it within us, it's our emotions that's reacting because we didn't clean up ship when it happened. We locked it in ourselves. So we only have the present moment. So if we look at everything from the past from a place of compassion and from love, and then dissect the current reaction to have a greater understanding of how you got here, that leads you to your freedom. Glenn, is that good? Does that help? Does that resonate? Okay, another Insight Timer teacher does an attachment repair meditation that has helped a lot with changing script of childhood trauma. It uses idea of perfect nurturers guiding us and accepting us. Highly suggest, I think it's tomorrow AM. That's beautiful, Kay. And what I like to do in the meditations that I lead is take us back, and we become that nurturer of ourselves. I like to imagine us, me, Manal, is the one that's giving that unconditional love to me when I'm in the womb. To me when I came out and I was cold and I was disconnected and I was alienated. To me when I was 2, when I was embarrassed at this point. To me when I was 4, and I just give myself that unconditional love, and then I give it to my mom and my dad, my siblings, sometimes my children, and I go through my storyline, and I like for me to be that person to give that unconditional love and care and compassion to myself and start to understand, and that helps me shift today's feeling of a past story from negative to positive. And also I believe that there is no time. There's no dimension of time in the spiritual. So I actually do believe that I'm giving myself that love to myself, to that little girl that day. I do truly from my essence believe that when I go into meditation, and that's Reiki, actually part of Reiki is going into the past and giving energy, love, and unconditional love. And so I truly believe that there is no time on that dimensional side, and that I can go back and give love, and that baby of mine will receive it. But okay, that's fabulous and that's beautiful. Wonderful, wonderful. Now, guys, did I miss anything? Did I miss anything? And are you ready to go into a meditation? Do you feel complete? Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. I'm seeing some hearts come up, but I asked 2 questions, so I don't know what the heart is referring to. I see more hearts going. Kay says yes, meditation, fantastic. I usually take the first thing that I see. So beautiful. If anybody wants to go off, it's 1:18. I put these for an hour and a half. I'll probably do about a 20-minute meditation. Before I go off, I'll say, October 10th at 10:30, empath is your superpower. I'm so excited about that one because we all relate to being an empath. October 13th at 1 p.m., how do I live my life's purpose? Steve, you're the one that said that. Requested that last time. October 18th, 9 a.m., how to stay grounded despite what's going on around me. I think that was Mary Alice that you asked that. I'm not 100% sure who recommended that. It was after Steve said purpose on on Tuesday. And October 20th at 1 p.m., feeling disconnected from life and others. That was from, Teresa, it was you. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Teresa. Feeling disconnected from others, life and others. That was inspired by Caitlyn Jenner in that documentary. That's going to be on October 20th. So those are all going. Stephanie, sorry, I got a call. Not sure if you mentioned which recording of yours can I go and find after this. I really like your vibe. Soft and nurturing. Thank you. I think there's actor and reactor. I have a lot of these lives that are on my my channel, my Insight Timer profile. That's the word I'm looking for. Is there a specific, in relation to childhood trauma or something? Stephanie, let me reflect and put it on the Attaining Your Authentic Life group. There's some that, let me reflect on that. It's not, one isn't coming to me, but I know I do have, but one isn't coming. And if not, then I'll record one for you. And today during our inspiration, you're going to be able to go into that. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Join the group. Fantastic. Join the group. I will remember that. I'm going to write it down actually right now. And we're going to do it right now too. And if I don't have one, like I said, I will record one for you. Good? Good. Good. Anything else, everybody? Sporty Jen, I think I saw something on childhood trauma on YouTube, Manal. I can't think of which one, Sporty Jen. Steve, can I say something? I'll say this. Trauma has its own voice and way of speaking. I know this is tricky. Steve, if we can call it conditioning rather than trauma. I know it's trauma. I know it's trauma. But trauma makes it, okay, let me ask you something, Steve. What does trauma mean to you? And everybody put it in the window. Steve is bringing it up. And as you guys know, anytime somebody speaks, it speaks to everybody. What does trauma mean? I'm going to say what I think it is and everybody add. I think trauma means a intersection, a connection, when our emotional stories, our mental stories, our physical stories all have a lot of resistance in it. We're stuck in a place, life-threatening event, real or imagined, beautiful. Organic and emotionally ingrained responses, beautiful. Trauma is a past event that is laden with a lot of energy, and most of that energy is very resistant energy. It's an event, it's almost like trigger, but it's a bit heavier. It's heavier because trauma means intensity of sadness and struggle and suffering and difficulty. Trauma. Trauma is the story you keep reliving, telling yourself about a past event. Beautiful, Karina and Era. Beautiful. So when we call it trauma, Steve, it keeps us from moving it out. A hard life lesson, stressful, says Lena. Christine, anything that we're not able to process at the time. Beautiful. Gee, oh wow, trauma has lots of stagnant energy. Beautiful, beautiful. Steve, and that's what I really want to invite. When we hold it as trauma, we've had this discussion too, when we hold it as depressed, when we hold it as anxious, when you hold it as anxiety, it's difficult to let go of the energetic component associated with it. And it's when we can't let go of that energy, it's hard to move past it. But we have to be at a place that we are able, willing, and it's not minimizing the past, but it's the desire to move past the past. survival and the way that we're talking about here. Beautiful, Steve. And for me, survival has a negative connotation too. Survival means I'm surviving, which means I didn't die. I want it to be thrival. Thriving. Thriving. So the way that we move it from trauma to survival to thriving is that we hold trauma as a place of history, calibration, experience, conditioning, past life journey, whatever we can that honors the journey and honors myself. But we keep, again, I'm going to use that word, Steve, calibrating, tuk, moving it until one day we can say, wow, I recognize why this happened. This made me the person that I am, and I love the person that I am. But we can't go from here to here, 0 to 60 in a moment. So slowly. So Steve, what can you hold it as today? Survival is better than trauma, but I want something that has less of a risk and threat to you. And I know that you feel that risk and threat. I know. But how can we hold it with a way that we can let go some of that energy associated with that? I think that's great. Events we are unable to metabolize. I think that's beautiful, that we're not able to process. Its intensity is just still sitting with us. So how do we, Steve, work with me. Gary, hey Manal, very interesting session. Gary, I'm so intrigued by it too. I think it's been fascinating for me as well. Fascinating. You guys always push me to articulate in a way that we can all grow without resistance, that we can all invite growth and challenge with different, Steve, I do not know what's current. We need to talk then again, and we need to look at where it is currently, and we need to figure out what you can do. Because if it's still current, then all these things are alive. It's all alive. If it's still current, it's all alive. But still, we need, if it, and it's current, we've talked about who can you speak to that can support you there, even if you have to get any, we've talked about this. So still, if it's current and past, and I'm talking at the spiritual level, Steve, not the physical level. Okay, I always remind you I'm speaking at the spiritual level. How can you lens it from somewhere that you're not a victim? And I know you've said in the past that you resented people making you a victim, and that until that moment you had never felt like a victim. It made you feel worse. How can you carry and hold it in a way that empowers a change? That's a good way to say it. Empowers a change. We are spirits having a human experience. Fantastic, Teresa. And a lot of time during these meditations and inspirations, I'll say fantastic about awful things. And sometimes I'm like, Manal, why did you say fantastic? Because I'm not talking about the physical experience. I'm talking about our spiritual journey. I'm talking about the ability for you to type this and say this and share this means that you're able and ready and willing to let go and move on. It talks about honoring and fantastic, how amazing you are to come on here and to share your stories and to have the desire to grow past it. That's what fantastic is. So Steve, and everybody, if anybody has any thoughts to support and to help, or if you resonate with it, how can we hold it, whether it's current or past, in a way to empower us, in a way to motivate us, in a way for us to know that we are in control and we're in power? Teresa's is a good way. We are spirits and having a human experience. And when we're in here today in Insight Timer on this inspiration with everybody together, working together, that we are going to hold it from a place, from the spiritual level, where I recognize I have inner power. I'm aligned with my inner power. I am purposeful. I am free. And I have and will allow everything that I need to get into the best, safest, secure, grounded place that I need to be. Steve, I don't know, but I can't do anything until it's corroborated. But could we shift spiritually? So I know we've discussed the physical. And when you shift spiritually, you can invite the universe to bring you the physical evidence that you need, the physical proof that you need, the physical shift that you need, the physical awareness that you need. So I want you to come up here with me on the spiritual level. Again, if there's anything that ever happens on your physical that you need a call, 911, a trauma group, or whatever it might be, Steve, you've got that in your hands. You've got that in your hands. But on this level, what we want to do is figure out how can you carry yourself now in this particular venue in a higher state, in your spirited state. Teresa, clear your mind, your body, and your soul, and your heart. I like your heart as well. So Steve, talk to me about how you can hold it differently. And I invite any thoughts, ideas, any recognition of anything that you might, if this resonates with you. When something is happening now, you feel it now, but you recognize until you shift it. No, it's not through faking it. I don't want you to fake it, Steve. I don't want you to fake it. I could only pretend to fake it if that's okay. No, it's not faking it. They do have that fake it till you make it, but I don't believe in faking it till you make it. I tell you what, Steve, during the meditation, I'm going to do a quick one now, is that let's go into your feelings. Let's go into the body. Let's go into where it came from. Let's calibrate to a higher. And then I'm going to ask you a few more questions after this is over, after we finish all this, if that's okay. Lena, the state when you manage to not let outside events affect your now and here, going strong inwards. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. Lena, that's exactly it. And that's what, I'm glad that you guys keep helping me articulate it better and better and better when I say fantastic about things that aren't. It is fantastic that we are present with what we have, and that's what we're working to, and letting go of that external and filtering that out, and to be aligned with our truth. I'm going to go into a shorter meditation today, and we will do a longer one hopefully on Tuesday. But if you guys all feel good, I feel fantastic too, and I feel very satisfied. But I do feel like with today's, I would like us all to go into our body and deal with some of these things, because we went far back, way back, and we really need to go into our bodies, okay? So let's start with 3 deep breaths. Everybody take a deep breath in. And release. Get nice and comfortable, and I jumped right into the meditation, but I'm already feeling better because I am smiling from inspiration. Take another deep breath in. And release. And take a third and final deep breath in. And release. Today was so absolutely powerful in that we were all willing, able, and have a strong desire for understanding, loving, and honoring our human journey, our conditions, why we are where we are. So we approach this with the topic of triggering, calibrating, aligning, events that happen that make us react in strong ways. And mostly these reactions aren't correlated to the incident that happened. It's amplified, it's bigger, it's heightened, it's strong. It comes from a history, reoccurring story reoccurring story. Let's just go into your bodies now. And I want you to enter your bodies just like we did earlier, either through your physical body, just feeling the physical sensations in your body, through your emotional body, just the emotion, shame, anger, frustration, fear, feeling invisible, feeling unsafe, the desire for protection, the mental body, just stories of what's happened to you now in the past. Just sort of enter and just become aware. Don't overindulge in any physical sensation, in any emotion, in any thought, but just start to be an explorer of your body and start to see the difference, separating, deconstructing your key lime pie, seeing the physical sensation and looking at the associated emotional feeling and looking at the thoughts curiously. Smell it. Taste it. Feel it. See it. Love this opportunity to explore your resistance, your stories in ways that you never have. Recognize that it's really powerful for you to be able to just float and be with your resistance, with your stories, with what you used to call pain or struggle or suffering or trigger. But now you recognize, oh wait, all of this happened so I can grow. This is just normal. This is life. This is humaning. This is humaning. Sort of feel into it. And now I invite you to take a journey and to go far as you can in your timeline to when the first time you may have felt a similar sensation, emotion, story, physical reaction. This might be in the womb, you in your womb just swimming around in your mother's tummy. It could be before, past lives if you believe in it, genetically, ancestrally, picking up your mom, your dad's feelings and vibration. Just open yourself up and trust whatever you're meant to learn will come to you. Just trust. Just trust that you're connected to answers and sensations and stories. Just open yourself up. Connect with the story. See if you float to you being born. It started then. Your early months, weeks, years. And every time you see yourself, and when you see yourself feeling that, just give yourself unconditional love. And let that baby know that although they're absorbing things, that life is happening around them, it's just part of the architecture of life, and that you are always there to care, to love, to guide, to support. That you're there for unconditional love. You see the worthiness of them. You know that they're free. You know that you and they are the purpose of life. And just give that unconditional love and care. Continue watching that baby grow to the early years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Just give love every time that you saw that reoccurring event. If it happened all along the way, or if it was just a few events, just give unconditional love. Acknowledge each event. Acknowledge the intensity of the feelings. And just recognize, this is the journey. This is the journey. We're on the journey together. And we're going to have so much fun. The life journey, human journey is supposed to be beautiful and pleasurable, and we're going to find together that pleasure and that love. Now watch yourself going into your teenage years, 12 and 13 and 13 to 20, and just any time that storyline, that emotion, that physicality arise, just give yourself love. Acknowledge the moment. Recognize your unconditional worthiness, your freedom, and your love. Care. Love. Just give it all to that child. Now go into your 20s. If you're in your 30s, continue into your 30s. Continue to fly through your timeline until you reach where you are now, and just keep giving unconditional love and see that reoccurring story. Just recognize, I know what you're here for. You're here to teach me. I'm sorry it took me so long to see you, but now I'm going to see you and feel you and love you and care for you. I see the power in you. And together we'll grow and calibrate for the truth of our worthiness, of our freedom, of our love. Life is amazing. Our human journey is amazing. We'll meet like-minded people, and we'll be having relationships with all these interesting people that will help us and guide us to grow and expand. Life will just get better and better and better, and together we'll make it better and better and better. And everything you need in life is found from within. Found within. It's found from love. Found. And we're connected to the universe. Whether you want to call it God or higher power, inner power. Everything we want in life is found from within. And once we find it in us, it just comes to us. And that includes our worthiness, and that includes being seen, us seeing ourselves and others seeing us. That includes radiating our truth, our beauty, our light. And we're going to have fun all along the way. Everybody take it now. We're going to let go. Let go of all of the energy that you connected with now and in the past. And whether you just want to shake it off, you want to just imagine it just going off, or just take a deep breath in of the universal light and just breathe out all that energy that you connected with. Take a deep breath in and release. Take another deep breath in and release all of the resistance that you connected with. Take a quick inventory of your body. See if you can feel any remnant energy. If you freed one part, but then you feel another part full of resistance. Just sort of acknowledge it. See it. Smell it. Taste it. Love it. Tell it you know what to do with it now. You've got to see it. Just like you want to be seen, your emotions want to be seen, and your thoughts want to be seen, and your physical body wants to be seen. And you are here to see yourself, to honor yourself, to love yourself, to see, to be. Take a deep breath in and release any of that energy that you connected with. Take another deep breath in. And release. Take a third and final deep breath in. And release. Imagine the light of the universal divine coming in, coming through the universe and entering to your crown chakra, to the crown of your head, and just filling in your third eye, coming in through your jaw, your throat, your chest, just lighting up your heart, just beautiful, radiant light in your heart. Now imagine the light coming from the core of the earth, from the deepest, deepest place of the earth, the pristine earth energy coming in through the core of the earth, through the soles of your feet, through your ankles, your calves, your knees, your thighs, through your pelvic area, through your pelvis, then through your solar plexus, your abdomen, and then up into your chest and anchoring into your heart and enjoying the light where the pristine energy light, the universal divine, the connect and just feel the expansion of love and compassion and acceptance and surrender. Create the intention to look at life from a lens of humanness, humaning, the natural architecture and design of the human experience. Everything is experienced to help you learn, to grow, to expand, to calibrate to unconditional worthiness and freedom and love. I'm going to pause, let all these concepts just sort of sit and integrate within you. And if you have any intentions, desires, the intentions to feel safe and secure, to be seen, to radiate your truth, the beauty of who you are, whatever it might be, whatever was woken up for you during this inspiration, just go ahead and create that intention, and I will count to 5 in 2 minutes. Fantastic, everybody. I'm going to count to 5, and on 3, open your eyes and join me back into the virtual room. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Fantastic. Steve, what do you see in my face? Did I have many expressions? Oh, the smile you can see is like New Hampshire. I feel really good. I hope everybody else feels really good, but I felt I felt that really, really well. And I can feel that the room, the vibration in the room has amped up. Does everybody feel that? Steve sees it on my face. Do you guys all feel it? See the hearts going. Fantastic. Any insights that anybody wants to share? Were you able to go through and give love? Were you able to shift? And as you can see, the beginning, my preamble, when we're talking, mostly it's intellectual. We do shift our feeling. We do shift the way that we're thinking and doing, because we talk, and in there I start to talk about growth-oriented thoughts and just shifting things the way that we say it. But it's going in deep into the body and truly feeling those emotions and physical sensations is where you find your freedom. It's powerful and it's beautiful and it's amazing. And meditation is one of the best ways to consistently raise your vibration and to painlessly grow. So you go in, you do it in there, you amplify, you amplify, you amplify. Good. So is everybody feeling good? Is there anything anybody wants to say? Is there any insights that you're aware of? Lena, love it. Thank you. Good vibes and good night from Norway. Oh, fantastic, Lena. I did make this later than my normal time to accommodate the Eastern world over there. So I'm glad that you visited from Norway. Wonderful. You're beautiful. Sporty Jen, the expressway through the timeline was interesting. Quite a bit of resistance through mid-teens and early 20s. Beautiful, Sporty Jen. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And we'll keep doing it until we get rid of all that resistance. Steve, I can't express myself on a keyboard. It's like Godzilla typing. You make me laugh, Steve. You really do. You do make me laugh. I'm doing good at interpreting everybody's text, especially when there's typos in there. Sometimes I get it right away, and sometimes I have to be like, okay, I think you're saying this. So Steve, did you get something from this? And if you're comfortable to say in front of everybody, I know last time we said goodbye and then we kept talking, but there was others that were still on. Is there anything that has happened since we've last talked, PhysiQ? Jen, thank you. I like this time better. Jen, from which time was the other time, and do you know what you liked better so I can make sure that I focus on that? Okay, thank you, Manal. Agree with Sporty Jen. Interesting going year to year or age to age instead of event to event. Grateful you've shared this practice with us. Thank you, Kay, and I always love your insight. Lisa, I have to leave now. Thank you for being here. Very much appreciated. Lisa, thank you. You're beautiful, and I love that you are here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Steve, I'm old, can't type, plus I'm nonverbal. Got vibration, and I like it. Okay, good, good. Jen, I'm in Hawaii, so a lot of your lives are when I'm still asleep. Jen, I've made a commitment to Andrea to start doing some later ones. She's in New Zealand, and this is the latest I've done. But it's just sort of hard for me because I try to keep my energy. I said hard, and you know I don't say that. In the morning is when I'm most alive and as I go, but I'm going to find a way that I can do later ones to accommodate the different time zones. So I appreciate you being here from Hawaii. I think I did a couple of 1 and 2 o'clocks in the next coming weeks, and I'll try to get something more into the late evenings to accommodate. So I am aware and I appreciate there's everybody from around the world. It just blows my mind. I love it. I love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It blows my mind. It fascinates me where the whole world is represented here. It's just incredible and beautiful and just such an honor and such an indication that we're all the same. We're all the same. We're all over the world, all ages, all colors, all places, all being, and we're feeling the same thing. So it's incredible. Fantastic, Jen. Steve, are you feeling better? Is my question. Yes, no. And has there anything happened to your safety and security since we last talked? How about this? I'm going to say to everybody, I'm going to end this officially. We're going to talk, Steve and I. If anybody wants to stay, please stay. But I'm going to end this officially. You guys are all amazing. All amazing. You fascinate me with your desire to grow, your insight, your awareness. And I'm so excited and honored to grow and to journey and to expand and grow with you all. Love you, love you, love you. I hope to see you in future inspirations. I hope to see you on meditations. I released my new course, Calibrating the Compassion series. Calibrating to Compassion, I think it's called. I'm sure it's called the Compassion series. And I've also have my body image reboot course on there as well. And join Attaining Your Authentic Life. Jen, thank you, thank you, thank you. I just love this, and it really is an expression of what I've always been for my whole life. So I'm really happy to find you all and to be able to express and share this way, and for it to be received in such a strong way. So it is my honor. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If there's any topics that anybody would like for the future, please let me know in any way, in any venue. And you are all amazing. Thank you. My love, always. I see the hearts. I always love the hearts.